Alright, what's up guys? In this video, I'm going to be going over 5 mistakes that I made in 2024 that I've fixed to not make again in 2025 or any future years. These mistakes are very common. Every videographer makes these. I'm going to share my experience and hopefully can help some people not make these same mistakes. And in turn, it'll make your footage come out better, make you look more professional and make you more money. Let's get into it. Okay, so the first mistake I made in 2024 was not emptying out my SD cards after a shoot. So why this was a mistake is it's the worst thing when you get to a shoot, you get your camera out, you're about to film and you realize you didn't empty out the SD card and it's saying 2 minutes left and you need to shoot. So you go to format the card and then you forget if you've properly backed up all the footage. So you don't know if you can format the card. You're worried there's a chance that you might not have backed up all the footage. So you need to go on your hard drive and check the footage to make sure it's all backed up. It's horrible when you're about to shoot, you're at a shoot on location and you have to pull out your computer and hard drives and check footage and possibly even back up footage off your SD card. So how I fixed this mistake was staying more organized. When I get back from a shoot, I'll empty the SD card onto 2 separate hard drives because it's very important to have a backup. I always like the footage in 2 separate locations at all times. There was one time where I was dragging the footage into Final Cut Pro to edit and I started editing some and then I was deleting some unusable clips. I got one clip mixed up somehow and I deleted one of the main tripod shots by accident. And then in Final Cut Pro, I just saw the whole timeline go red and I had a panic attack. I was like, shit, what am I gonna do? That was one of the main shots. Luckily, I didn't empty out the SD card yet and I was able to re-import the clip. Now, instead of leaving it on the SD card, I recommend putting it onto 2 separate hard drives, which is what I'll be doing in the future from now on. So that's how I'll be fixing that mistake. Make sure the cards are formatted, ready to go when I get to the shoot. Very important. Because it sounds obvious, but trust me, it happens heaps. When you get to shoots and your cards aren't formatted, you're having a panic attack on shoot, stressing out. Format your cards, back up your clips. Don't make the mistake I did in 2024. Now, number 2, the next mistake I've spoken about a bit on this channel, but I think it's very crucial. Very important. Monitoring your audio. I think it's so crucial when you're recording audio to monitor your audio to make sure there's no mistakes, no rustling on the shirt. Some people wear chains that might be hitting the microphone. Anything could happen. Make sure you're actually getting clean audio. Now, these are some wireless earbuds for audio monitoring. These are really good. I definitely recommend these. I'll link these in the description. These are amazing. They're easy to just chuck in your bag. A mistake I made in 2024 was I wasn't monitoring my audio. I had a wireless microphone on someone. It was actually a lav mic, and the lav mic was hooked up around here. What I didn't see was the woman was wearing a gold chain, which was tapping up against the microphone on the inside, and it was causing the audio to be almost unusable. It's not very professional. It's the last thing you want to happen. So monitoring your audio will allow you to catch any of those little mistakes that happen. Like that example I gave you, sometimes you just don't realize. You might think everything's good and then there's one mistake that you couldn't anticipate or you just didn't realize. So yeah, what I'm doing to fix this mistake in 2025 is I'm carrying around wireless earbuds with me and listening as I'm recording audio. Make sure the audio is good. You don't want bad audio. Bad audio is probably worse than bad video. If your video is a bit shaky, a bit bad, it's not the end of the world. You can always fix it. You can always layer over B-roll. You can stabilize it. You can try and do some things to fix it. Bad audio is very bad and it's gonna ruin the quality of your video. So number 3, carry a small bag with you. Maybe just a small camera bag, a sling that can go around the shoulder, something like that. Because why I'm saying this is a mistake that I made in 2024 was only taking my backpack or a camera case. It was a run and gun shoot, but I had to put my bags down and take the camera and go off and shoot. What the mistake was is I tried to fit one backup battery in my pocket, but then I go off to shoot and I realize it gets a bit bright and I need an ND filter. I have to run all the way back to my bag, grab my ND filter, run all the way back. And then it turns out that I need something else out of my bag. Maybe I need to swap lenses. I need a wide lens or something happens. So I have to run all the way back, grab a lens, run all the way back. It's the worst thing, not professional. You're gonna waste so much time. You can't fit everything in your pockets. Highly recommend carrying a sling, some kind of small bag around your shoulder, maybe on your waist. Put in some basic equipment, put in monitoring headphones, chuck in a spare SD card, spare batteries, because trust me, it does happen where you have to constantly run back to your bag, grab stuff, run back, It's not good. Carrying a small sling will save you so many times, having somewhere to put your stuff. So that's what I'll be doing to fix that mistake. I'll be getting a small sling. At the moment, I've got that small camera bag. I'll be getting something a bit more sleeker, maybe a Peak Design sling or something like that. Yeah, it's a lot better than carrying a huge backpack on your back. Number 4, not using manual focus and relying too much on autofocus. Every videographer is guilty of this. Relying too much on autofocus, you get lazy, you allow the autofocus to just take full control, and it's never gonna give you the best footage. Autofocus isn't the smartest. You're gonna mess up focus on a lot of shots, especially shooting wide open at f2.8 or lower. Autofocus, sometimes it might shift, it might lock onto something you don't want it to lock onto. Lock onto the foreground instead of the subject. You need to get good at manual focus. Very important. I've gotten way better at manual focus this year. It's leveled up my footage massively. I'm so much more confident going into any situation that I can nail at first go. The mistakes I made in 2024 with this is relying solely on autofocus, and it's a one take type situation. Maybe someone's walking out, maybe it's a wedding, the bride's walking down the aisle or something, and then the autofocus snaps to someone's face in the aisle. It's the worst thing. I've made mistakes where it's been a one take type situation. I can't do a retake, and the autofocus has snapped off them, and I've been panicked trying to touch track focus back on the subject. It's not working, it's not touch tracking. I'm sitting there trying to activate manual focus. Now what I'm doing to fix this, I have been doing in 2024, but I'm making it more of a priority to use manual focus a lot more. But what I'm doing is I've set a custom button on my camera to be the autofocus, manual focus hold button. So when I hold that button in, it allows me to turn the focus wheel and I'm able to shift to manual focus. So if I'm on autofocus and there's a very important part coming up, I'll just hold that button in. I know the focus isn't gonna shift. And then if they start moving, I can slowly turn the wheel, track them, or I can switch back to autofocus if I know their face is clear and it's gonna lock onto their face. I go back and forward between auto and manual a lot. I use a lot of different modes. I use the focus area modes, which is pretty much just putting a box over the screen and you can move it around to change what area of the screen you want to focus on. I love this, especially for shooting people on stage or in the crowd. But for everyone, I recommend getting really good at manual focus, just getting comfortable with it. Using it a lot more because it's gonna give you way more confidence with shots. You're not gonna mess up as much. Something that's very common with beginner footage is them missing focus. Focus not locking on. So yeah, what I'll be doing to help fix this in 2025 is, as I said, using the focus hold buttons on the camera, maybe just switching to full manual focus a lot more, practicing and getting really good with manual focus to help me be way more confident in my ability to get the shot I need, especially in those crucial moments where you don't get a retake. Now, the last one, number 5, don't use a gimbal for everything. Now, when you first get a gimbal, it's tempting to use it for every single shot, every single shoot. You're gonna be bringing the gimbal, you're gonna be wasting heaps of time setting the gimbal up, balancing your camera. Don't get me wrong, there's certain situations where gimbals are great and essential, but if you use them all the time and rely on gimbals too much, it's gonna be a crutch. It's gonna make some shots worse. You're sacrificing quality, you're wasting time as well. The client's sitting there waiting for you to balance the gimbal and get everything set up. There's a time and place for a gimbal, and you don't want to use it all the time. The mistake I made in 2024, probably early 2024, 2023, when I first got a gimbal, is using it too much. I would use it for every shoot. There'd be times where handheld was just better. The footage would look better, and I was using a gimbal. I would waste an extra 10 minutes balancing the camera, setting it up, carrying it around, extra weight, when the handheld footage would actually turn out better. I shot the majority of my footage handheld at the beginning. It made me a better videographer because being good at handheld footage, knowing how to keep your camera stable enough for handheld footage is essential. I think every videographer should shoot handheld and get good at it. Yeah, so the mistake I made was using a gimbal too much and it would limit my shots. The gimbals really lack that personal touch. It lacks that human feel. So robotic, and you don't get that kind of emotion out of the footage the same way you get from handheld footage. That's why they shoot documentaries, the majority of documentaries handheld, because you're gonna get a lot more realistic feel. It's better for run and gun situations where you don't know what kind of angles you need. You have access to all the buttons on the camera a lot more easily. Now for gimbals, currently I don't use them very much at all. I use it for maybe real estate, sometimes at a wedding if I'm gonna be walking with someone. Any kind of walking shots, things where I'm doing a lot of movement. You know, there's certain shots where I will use the gimbal. Now, optimal is a mix of gimbal and handheld, depending on the shoot. The mistake I made was relying too much on the gimbal and using the gimbal for every single shot. Get good at handheld footage, and the gimbal is just a tool to use in certain situations. Don't use it for every single shot. Get good and creative with handheld footage and your footage will come out a lot better. So the mistake I made was using a gimbal too much, and it would either mess up my footage because the autofocus wouldn't lock onto what I needed it to lock onto, and the footage just looked too robotic when it didn't need to. And I was wasting too much time setting up and packing down. So what I'm doing to fix this in 2025 is I've just gotten really good at handheld footage. So I shoot the majority handheld, and I know when to take the gimbal with me. I know what shots I need it for and where it'll be an asset, not a liability. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments. These are just 5 mistakes that I've made, which hopefully I can help other people not make. Yeah, let me know the worst mistakes that you've made in the comments. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.